Sometimes I make decrees to my family. I'm not sure how it comes off. I think it's pretty chill, but definitely as the dad, I am a decree issuer. I'll just walk into a room. Everybody's fine. They're doing their thing, reading a book, doing homework, whatever, responsible stuff. And I'll just walk in and be like, hey, family, listen up. We got to do this and this and this. We need to be ready by this time. This is important. We need to focus on this. Everybody got that? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then they all deliver because they're a great family. My favorite people ever. And then every now and then it occurs to me, that was a decree again. Sometimes you do the dad decree thing. And maybe that's fine. I'm the head of a household. I'm a dad. I got to keep things moving along. Maybe sometimes I get a little decree happy too. That's just something for me to keep an eye on and try to always be perhaps a bit more self-aware about. But let me tell you, somebody else who liked decrees, who probably never did have that self-awareness moment and never did try to throttle it back. And that's Xerxes. King of lands, king of Persia. That guy, he just issued decrees. Rapid fire. Kind of whatever he felt in the given moment. Or more accurately, whatever the most recent advisor had told him to do by whispering in his ear. But it's not just Xerxes who likes decrees. We get decrees from Persian kings all over this chunk of the Old Testament. Second Chronicles ends with a decree of Cyrus. Ezra begins with a decree of Cyrus. Then the decree of Cyrus gets lost. And then in Ezra 6, we get another decree. This one's from Darius saying we found the other decree. And now here's an even more decree to go along with that. Looks like we get effectively a decree from Artaxerxes in the book of Nehemiah. And in Esther chapter 1, we get a decree from Xerxes right out of the gate. But it's not really his decree, is it? You remember that. He's got a party. He wants his wife to come and entertain the men, probably in a way that's inappropriate. She's like, no, I'm not doing it. And then all of the advisors, probably the noblemen descended from the gentleman who helped Darius seize power a generation earlier, they come and they're like, you got to do something about that. And one of them, Memucan, is like, hey, look, if people find out that your wife disrespected you at this private party, then all the wives are going to get it in their head that they should disrespect their husbands. Therefore, let's issue a decree in every language to all corners of the empire telling them that your wife disrespected you at a party and that they should not get that idea in their heads. And Xerxes is comically presented as being like, yeah, obviously, if you want to keep a thing quiet so that you don't inceptionize the idea of other people doing that thing, you should send out a decree in all the languages announcing that that happened. And so he does. And so we learn in chapter 2 that Xerxes is pretty willy-nilly with that signet ring. Fast forward a couple of chapters, and now we see him being influenced once again here in the middle of chapter 3. This Haman guy who is rich as Croesus, maybe not quite as rich as Croesus. He's the king of Lydia, who was a contemporary of Cyrus the Great, who had more money than any empire. And Herodotus describes how that put him at loggerheads with Cyrus, and eventually Croesus and his descendants lose out in all of that. But hey, Croesus still gets that saying, right? Have you heard that saying? Rich as Croesus? I think that's still a saying. I don't think that's just a historian thing. I don't know. He's rich as Croesus. So maybe Haman wasn't quite that wealthy, but he's wealthy enough to go to King Xerxes and be like, a guy didn't bow to me and I'm mad and I have a grudge and I want to kill everyone who is part of the same ethnic group as him. And I'm also willing to give you $250 million to do it. Would that be cool? And Xerxes, man, for something that's such a big deal, he's so flippant about it. Esther 3:10. So the king took his signet ring from his finger and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. And he says, keep the money and do whatever you want with those people. I mean, it's the equivalent of somebody giving them the password to their bank account or the password to all of their online stuff or permission to sign an official policy-making intercompany email with their name and title. He's just so dismissive. I don't care, whatever about the money. Or, I mean, just, it's been a while since we've done any genocides. I guess we're probably due. I got some other stuff on my mind. So yeah, go ahead. That's fine. That's great. I mean, so passive regarding all of that. But the decree that goes out, because these Achaemenid kings really like to make decrees, is very assertive, and it's not reflective of the slipshod decision-making process that went into coming to this conclusion. Esther 3, verse 12. Then on the 13th day of the first month, the royal secretaries were summoned. They wrote out in the script of each province and in the language of each people all Haman's orders to the king's satraps, the governors of the various provinces, and I got to turn the page, the nobles of the various peoples. These were written in the name of King Xerxes himself and sealed with his own ring. Dispatches were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old, women and little children, on a single day, the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality, so they would be ready for that day. Spurred on by the king's command, the couriers went out, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa. The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa was bewildered. So as readers, we know that the thinking that went into this decision was pretty much nothing. I caught Xerxes in a hallway real quick, and he was like, what? Yeah, it's fine. Here's my ring, whatever. I got to go do something. But then you see what that sets in motion and why it would be so hard to turn it off. And all of a sudden, you are reminded of how dangerous this man's ring and words are. Xerxes doesn't have to swing any swords here, and he's about to kill millions and millions of people with a sloppy, thoughtless wave of his hand. He's also about to countermand the instructions of his father and of Cyrus. Remember, the two generations of Achaemenid kings upon whose shoulders Xerxes stands before him had gone to bat for these people. You got to remember that in Ezra chapter 6, Xerxes' dad, Darius, issued that decree after discovering that Cyrus had liked the Jewish people and sent them off to rebuild. Darius is like, I'll do it even bigger than Cyrus. They're getting even more money, and they should absolutely be allowed to rebuild their temple and their city of Jerusalem, and I'll do Cyrus one better on this as well. If anybody messes with them, they should have their own house torn down, and they should take a stick and they should be shoved onto that stick and just hung on that stick. Because I'm with Cyrus, and I am the rightful descendant of Cyrus, and all the old orders of kings, they are going to be held up from here on out. And remember that Darius had carved in that Behustan inscription the exhortation to future kings to say, hey, do not undo stuff the previous kings did. Uphold their decisions. That's how the whole thing hangs together. And so Xerxes, without even thinking, has just countermanded the orders of the two previous great kings of kings. He's broken this thread of continuity that is helping to maintain the illusion of the blessings of Ahura Mazda and the heavens to have this family be in power. He's messing with really serious stuff for his own good and for the stability of Persia, before we even get into how much he's messing with the Jewish people who he just publicly ordered to be killed. Now, clearly, he did not write this edict. Clearly, Haman took the ring and wrote the email in his name. But wow, is it full send. Every language, every people group, all the satraps. Remember what those are? The satraps are like the Roman governors, or the equivalent of that. They're the people who oversee each of these mega provinces within Persia. These would have included a lot of the noble family members surrounding the Persian court. So everybody who matters has been notified, from the mega powerful down to the normal people who just check the bulletin board in town every day when they go to get groceries or whatever. Everybody knows, hey, we're gonna slaughter the Jews empire-wide on this date. And I guess we're just going to take a few months to kind of size it up and think about like what weapons you want to use to get that done. Maybe pick some particular Jews who have money that you would like to target. It's this huge amount of advance notice in the name of the king to get everybody mobilized. Well, think about what a decree like that does, especially coming from an empire that is run by royal decree. I mean, it normalizes genocide. Like, this is just the latest thing to come down. It's just, I don't know. I mean, the government can't be wrong. I mean, this is what we're doing. Well, our betters have thought it through, and this is the best thing for the empire. I mean, I don't know. They are a very problematic people, and this is just what needs to be done. And so the scenario this is setting up by royal decree is that you're just going to have walking dead men, walking dead women, walking dead children for a series of several months. And surely there was an outcry, and lots of people were like, whoa, I happen to like my Jewish neighbors. I don't want to do this. I don't think we should do this. Surely there were attempts at petitions and argumentation, but the author of Esther is going out of his way to say, look at the wheels that were set in motion here. Xerxes' carelessness let Haman overcommit Xerxes to this action, so that the amount of indignity and erosion of his credibility that he would have to endure would be simply too great for a man whose position is rooted in that kind of power and prestige mystique that he had. I mean, tip your hat to the bad guy here. This is a very clever play. But don't forget that last line of the chapter. The king and Haman sat down to drink. Great, whatever. But the city of Susa was bewildered. And I think that has to be because this was a bewildering decision. It's head-scratching. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And next time around, we'll talk more about the nuts and bolts of the decree and the consequences of it. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.